Wrist flexibility. This is something you never think about until you feel pain inside of your wrists and inside of your elbows. In that moment you realize, damn it, I should have spent more time stretching my forearms. I'm the flexibility guy, Coach Elia, and in this video I'm going to show you some of the best exercises you want to use to stretch and strengthen your forearm muscles, which are key for improving your wrists and elbows flexibility and health. Okay, let's go. First things first, we do want to understand how our forearm work. On our forearm, we have two different kinds of muscles. Wrist flexors, which are the muscles we have in the front part of the forearm, which move the wrist into flexion. So they do something like this. When I move the wrist into a flexion position, I contract my wrist flexors. On the other side of the forearm, we have the wrist extensors that move our wrist into extension. So when I perform this kind of movement here, I'm gonna engage the muscles I have on the back part of my forearm. If you think about it, most of the movements we perform in our daily activities are wrist flexion movements. So where we bring our wrists into flexion and we contract the wrist flexors. Also, the moment we grab something, so we use our hands to grab something and we squeeze with our fingers, we engage those muscles there, the wrist flexors. This is why we tend to have really strong wrist flexors and weak wrist extensors. And this kind of imbalance may cause pain inside of the wrist and inside of the elbow. The solution is really simple. We want to stretch the muscles we have strong and contracted, the wrist flexors, and we want to strengthen the muscles that are weak, in this case, the wrist extensors. So I'm gonna guide you through some basic stretches you want to use to stretch your wrist flexors and strengthen your wrist extensors. As I said, stretching your wrist flexors is one of the most important things you do want to do if you want to have flexible wrists and elbows. Because as you can see, this muscle runs across your entire forearm, all right? So if this muscle is tight, you may have elbow pain, especially on the inside. And this is why you do want to care about this muscle here. Now, 3 exercises you can use from the easiest to the hardest are these 3 ones, okay? At first, you want to understand the setup, okay? So, hands down on the floor, fingers pointing at you, this way, okay? Now, from here, you gently press your palms against the floor, like this. You straighten your arms completely, and now, slowly, you sit down on your heels, keeping your palms well pressed against the floor the whole time, okay? So down, 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 down. You stop wherever you feel the stretch, right over here on the front part of your forearm, okay? When you find your stretch, you can also apply a PNF contraction and an antagonist contraction. So this is a really simple strategy to make a long story short. As you are here, you say here 5 breaths, then you press with your fingers against the floor for 10 seconds, just gently, slowly. 10 seconds, and then rather than pushing down with your fingers, when you stop the 10 seconds down, you push it up, okay? So you push your fingers up as if you wanted to lift them off the floor. 10 seconds here, okay? So you lift it up, lift it up, lift it up, lift it up. 10 seconds, and you stop. Inhale, give it a little space. Exhale, try to get deeper. Now, when you get deeper and the exercise gets easier, you want to bring your knees away from your fingers, and again, with your back straight, go. Sit down on your heels. At all times though, you do want to keep your palms well pressed against the floor, okay? And you want to perform 2 rounds, okay? So it's going to be 5 breaths, I push down with my fingers, and then I push up with my fingers for 10 seconds, 5 breaths again, down, up, 5 final breaths, okay? And this is how I want to do first exercise to stretch my wrist flexors. Second exercise you want to use, you need a yoga block, simple yoga block, but it has to be thin, okay? Not too large. You want to put it on the floor, fingers on top of the yoga block, hand down, wrist down. From here, I want to turn my elbow out. Now, you wanna follow me for a second here. You want to turn your elbow out because this kind of forearm rotation stretches your wrist flexors. You want to use your other hand, grab your elbow and turn it out. Turn it out, okay? Now, as you have it, you want to lean forward as much as you can until you feel the desired sensation of stretch here. You stop, 5 breaths, then you press your fingers down for 10 seconds, and then after 10 seconds, you press your fingers up, 10 seconds again, then you stop, inhale, exhale, try to get deeper. And you want to repeat this kind of process 2 times, all right? So 5 breaths, 10 seconds down, 10 seconds up, 5 breaths, down, up 10 seconds, and 5 breaths again. Each and every time you want to get deeper into the stretch, you just have to lean forward a little more. And remember to turn your elbow out using your other hand. And this is our second exercise to deeply stretch your wrist flexors. Let's see the third one. Third exercise to stretch your wrist flexors. Really easy, but really, really hard. Now, do you remember the setup of our first exercise? Fingers pointing our direction. Now, this is going to be the same, but with the other hand, I want to press my fingers down, okay? So, other hand on top of the fingers, just the fingers, not the palm, okay? Just the fingers. From here, I want to lean back and lift my palm off the floor. Now, I don't want to lift my fingers and the base of my fingers. That remains down, okay? Now, from here, palm up, and as I'm on top, I want to lean back and drive my elbow toward my knee as much as possible. I stop wherever I feel the stretch on the front part of my forearm. As I stop, I remain in the stretch for 5 breaths, then I press gently, really, really gently, my fingers down for 10 seconds, and then I try to move them up. It's going to be really hard, but imagine like if you wanted to open your hand actively, okay? Open your hand as much as you can, 10 seconds again, then I'm gonna stop, inhale, exhale. I'm gonna try to get a little deeper into the stretch for another 5 breaths. I can repeat again this cycle 2 total times, okay? So 5 breaths, 10, 10, 5 breaths, 10, 10, 5 final breaths. You want to do both hands. If you have a stiffer side, you can do a set more on that side. Okay, so these are the 3 exercises you want to use to stretch your wrist flexors. But remember that if you want to create a balance inside of your forearms, you also have to strengthen your wrist extensors. And these are another 3 exercises you want to use to work just on that. First exercise to strengthen your wrist extensors, so the muscles you have here on the back of your forearm. Really easy, you just need a stick, all right? Now, stick in front of you, shoulders height, elbows straight. Now, for 60 seconds, you do something like this, okay? So you roll the stick as if you wanted to do something like this every time up, okay? So you set a timer, you go as fast as possible and as many repetitions as possible in 60 seconds, okay? Keep your elbows straight at all times and try not to make it slow. Keep it fast, okay? And really focus on that wrist extension movement. First exercise, 60 seconds. Let's say the second one. Second exercise you want to do, it seems like it's an easy exercise, but you gotta pay attention to how you do it, all right? So hands on the floor. Now from here, the concept is this. You want to keep your elbows straight and your palms pressed against the floor. At this point, you want to lift your fingers off the floor by squeezing the back of your hand and your wrist extensors. And what you want to do is fingers away from the floor, palms against the floor instead, okay? You keep it up for a couple of seconds, you come back down with your fingers, and you repeat this kind of movement for 20 total reps, all right? Now, each and every time you do it, remember that you want to keep your elbows as straight as possible, okay? So, if you lean forward, but you bend your elbows as you lift your fingers, you don't want to do it, all right? So, lean back to make the exercise easy, lean forward to make it progressively harder. Find your sweet spot where you can keep your elbows straight and perform the movement correctly for 20 reps. Keeping the top position, holding the top position for a couple of seconds at each rep. Third exercise you want to use to work on your wrist extensors, this is the wrist rock. And you do want to start on your fist. This is kind of a wrist push-up, all right? Now, from this position here, you want to gently drive your wrists down, keeping your elbows as straight as possible. Once your wrists are on the floor, by pressing with your fingers, you want to make your way back on top, on your fists, all right? So, gentle and slow on the way down, elbows straight. I press through the fingers and I make my way back up. The more I lean onto my hands, the harder the exercise gets. I want to repeat this kind of movement for 10 to 15 reps, trying to keep it as controlled and hard as possible for the reps I want to do. Remember that it all comes from your fingers. You want to press through the fingers to complete the push-up motion. Woo! At this point, your wrist flexors should be as soft as butter and your wrist extensors as hard as a rock. So this is going to create a nice sense of balance inside of your forearms so you can perform whatever kind of training you would like, keeping your wrists flexible and healthy. Alright guys, I hope that at this point everything is clear. Remember that you can download this complete flexibility guide by clicking on the link in the description down below, okay? So you're gonna find a complete guide on how to stretch and strengthen your wrist joint, okay? Again, you do want to check the link in the description down below for that, okay? Also, remember that if you enjoyed today's video, you can leave a thumb up, and if you have any questions or doubts for me, you can leave a comment down below. I'm gonna be really happy to have a chat about whatever kind of doubt or request you may have, okay? With that said, thank you so much for staying with me. Have a nice stretch and see you in the next video. Bye. Hey, if you want to increase your flexibility, master your handstands and have a more capable body in general, you can download my Flexibility Guide app on your phone. Inside this wonderful and simple app, you're gonna find all the workouts, exercises, and video lessons you can follow to take yourself to the next level. You can check it out following the link in the description right now.